This is a quick supplemental video that I'm doing from a longer video that I created about a hidden message of Genesis chapter 1 in the stars. I just want to do a short version and also put some extra information that I forgot or left out of the other video. So basically the idea here is that if you look at some of my videos in chronology, I've come up with the year 3967 BC as the start year of creation when you add up all the dates in the Bible. And so on that year, in the heavens, in the first day of the month, you have a hidden message in the stars which tells or retells the story of Genesis chapter 1. And so you can go watch my other video for a detailed explanation. It's about a half hour long, but I'm going to make a brief recreation of that video here just so you can see what I was talking about. Okay, so on just after midnight on March 12th of 3967, the sun is in Aries, which would be the first month in the ancient New Year. And the sun is in a state of eclipse. So this corresponds to the first part of creation, where in Genesis chapter 1 it says, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep." So we have the sun in a state of eclipse. There's darkness covering over it. And so what's happening here is the stars are basically telling the story of what's happening in the earth, the creation of Genesis. So if we move forward one day, okay, so we're just after midnight now on March 13th. Now the moon is passing by Jupiter, and the etymology for Jupiter is Dies Pita, or Zeus Pater, which basically means sky father or father in heaven. So as the moon passes by Jupiter, it begins to have its first sliver of the new moon showing. Now in ancient times in Israel, you would determine the first day of the month by when you could have two witnesses view the first sliver of the new moon. And once you had two witnesses be able to confirm the first sliver of the new moon, that would be considered the first day of the month. Some days it would happen a day after the moon passes the sun. Some months it would happen 2 days after the moon passes the sun. It depends when they first witnessed that first sliver. That was determining the first day of the month. So you had to have two witnesses. So what we see here is in that first day, as the moon progresses from its state of eclipse in the sun over to Jupiter here, okay, it passes by Venus and Mars. And if you watch the other video, I explained how Venus is ancient times is considered the queen of heaven, and Mars is the red planet, and Earth is considered red, like Adam or Edom, like the red clay that Adam was created out of. So you have Venus representing the heavens, the planet of clouds and so forth, and Mars, the red planet, representing the Earth. So as the moon is passing out of the state of eclipse, and God says, "Let there be light," okay, it's passing by two witnesses, Venus and Mars, representing the heaven and the earth. And in the first creation, the only two things that were around at the beginning was the heavens and the earth, because in Genesis chapter 1 it says, "In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth," and then it says the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light, and he saw light, and it was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. The light he called day, the darkness he called night, and evening and morning were the first day. So in order to have a first day, historically in Jewish custom, you have to have two witnesses witnessing that first sliver of the moon to show that there's the first day. And the only possible two witnesses in Genesis chapter 1 that were in existence prior to light, or prior to that first sliver of the new moon, were the heavens and the earth, because that's what's created in Genesis chapter 1, the heavens and the earth. So what we see here is a representation of that, where Mars is passing by Venus, representing the heaven, or the moon is passing by Venus, representing the heavens, and Mars representing the earth, as the two witnesses to the first sliver of the new moon as it comes before the Heavenly Father, who sees the light and declares the light good, and separates the light from the darkness, and calls the light day and the darkness night, and declares officially as the king the first day. All this is being portrayed in the very start of the first month in 3967 BC, which again, if you watch my other chronology videos, is the year of creation. So what I'm saying is that God wrote this story of what he's doing on the earth. He wrote the story in the stars, conveying the message of the very thing that he did in that year in creation. So now we're going to continue the story. Now what happens is, every 7 days, is the Sabbath day. And every 7 days, everyone would come before the Lord, just like you go to church every 7 days. And then you go back out into the world in the work week, and then 7 days later you come back again on the Sabbath or on Sunday in Christianity. And you come back before God, and you receive the Word of God, and then you go back out in the Word again. So there's a 7-day cycle going on here. And we're going to see that 7-day cycle portrayed here, where every 7 days, one of the planets representing an act of a day of creation is going to go by Jupiter, the planet that represents the Father in heaven, so to speak. Not saying he is the Father in heaven. This is just information that's being portrayed, that God's using the stars to portray the Genesis story. So Jupiter is telling the story of the Father in heaven, inspecting each of the days as they pass by. So day 1, we have the first sliver of the moon. This is let there be light. Okay, and he saw the light. He separated the light from the darkness. The light he called day. The darkness he called night. The evening and the morning were the first day. Okay, so the declaration of the first day. And you have heaven and earth as the witness of the declaration of the first day. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead 7 days later. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now what we have is the next planet that passes by Jupiter is Venus. And again, Venus represents heaven. In ancient times, it was considered the queen of heaven. So on day 2 of creation, God creates the heaven, or the sky. It says he separates the waters above from the waters below, and he calls it sky. Okay, so this is day 2 of creation. Now we're going to go ahead 7 more days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we have Mars representing the Earth, the red planet, the red clay of the Earth, passing by the sun on day 3 of creation. God said, let the waters be gathered together under the heavens in one place, and let dry land appear. And so you have the appearance of earth and then vegetation on day 3. So here again, day 3, we have the appearance of earth. Now we're going to go ahead and move 7 more days forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we have the appearance of the sun, okay, and the appearance of timekeeping. And on day 4 of creation, God creates the sun, the moon, and the stars in the heavens as a form of timekeeping. This, by the way, is also exactly 4,000 years to the day of the crucifixion of Jesus Christ on April 3rd, 33 AD. So that in itself is very amazing. So we'll move ahead now 7 more days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now we have the moon back again, passing by Jupiter again, but this time the moon is in a state of complete darkness. It's actually, the phase you see here, it's about 0. There's no light showing. And that darkness, as we remember from day 1, represents the darkness of the abyss, or the darkness of the waters that were underneath the heaven. And so the moon passing by in the day of darkness, this is representing day 5 now in our creation account. So on day 5 of creation, God said, let the waters under heaven bring forth fishes and birds. And then the birds would fly up in the sky, and then they would, the birds would reproduce in the earth, but they first came out of the waters. So the waters under heaven are producing fishes and birds, and on day 5 here, we have a representation of the dark waters by the fact that you have the dark moon passing by, which represents the dark waters of the abyss. So again, this completely corresponds with day 5 on the year of creation. Now let's move ahead 7 more days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we have Mercury passing by. Mercury is the male planet, whereas Venus is the female planet, because there's 2 planets, the 2 inner planets, that always stick around the sun, and they're always near the sun wherever it is in the zodiac. So they're called the morning stars and the evening stars, because specifically Venus is called the morning star and so forth, because it's always near the sun when it rises in the morning or when it sets in the evening. And so Mercury and Venus both have these attributes. But in Hebrew, Mercury is called Kokav, which just means the planet, or the male planet, because it's the male conjugation of that word, whereas Venus is called Kokavet, which is the female conjugation of that word, which is the she planet, or the female planet. So you have representation of male and female. So as Mercury passes by Jupiter, what we have here is the appearance of the male planet, or the appearance of man. And on day 6, man was created, and that's the chief of creation of day 6, in addition with the animals. And then if we move 7 more days ahead, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we have nothing, which is the day of rest, and that's the 7th day, is the day of rest. So we have the completion of the whole cycle. So in addition to that, there's one more planet that's missing out of this, and that is Saturn. and Saturn is at the exact opposite end of the zodiac, and it takes about 30 years for Saturn to go through the zodiac. So in the case of Saturn, what we see, hang on a second here, I'll try to zoom out a little bit so I can show you where Saturn is in the zodiac. But Saturn is approximately in the constellation Libra. Okay, so here's Saturn over here. Saturn's separate. All the other planets, here we go. Okay, Saturn is separate from all these other planets that are going through the zodiac. So Saturn is set apart. Now, the days of the week are named after the planets. So like in Latin or Hispanic cultures, Monday is Lunis, which is lunar, which is the moon. Tuesday is Martis, which is Mars. Wednesday is Miraculous, which is Mercury, and so on and so forth. Saturday is named after Saturn. That's the seventh day, the Shabbati in Hebrew. That's the seventh planet, the day of rest. And that planet is set apart just like Saturday is set apart from all the other planets representing the day of rest. So all this information is being conveyed at the very start of creation in 3967 BC. So the whole story of Genesis chapter 1 is being retold in the stars in the year at the very start of creation, 3967 BC. And in order to see how I came up with 3967 BC as the first year of creation, please go look at my other videos dealing with Bible chronology. Basically, I added up all the dates in the Bible, and this is the year that I came up with based on the Bible for the year of creation. And then when you look in the heavens, lo and behold, it retells the story of Genesis chapter 1 in the stars, which is absolutely amazing to me, and it's a confirmation of the reality of God and His creation. So please check out my other videos, and if you have any questions, leave a comment below or like or subscribe. And I look forward to talking with you in the other videos. Thanks very much.